So you want to try out nullscape for the first time, or you've been playing for a bit and don't understand the game? Well, here's my 10 learning tips and guides with extra game mechanic knowledge for you, given by a rank 40 that I think you'd find useful while playing the game. There's a lot of tips and recommendations that other YouTubers on this topic have made, but I just want to say, where do you actually want to start in nullscape when you're starting out, or just a straight up beginner? I would say start with something like a solo casual for your first 2 runs, just to see how the mechanics feel when you're just starting out. Because early game can be really slow and you have basically like no momentum at all. Then after those, just like join a small party in casual, because the mechanics are more forgiving and most runs you see in casual are made to be new player friendly. That is like the entire point of casual. I myself have used those lobbies after I reached rank 25 to learn late game enemies such as Scrapmont and Sigil for when I get Voidbound Scarf. But I'd strongly suggest if you're a low rank or just starting out in general, stay in casual until 15 through 20 when you're more comfortable in exploring the standard and extreme mechanics, because they tend to be a lot harder. When is it okay to play solo, or in this case, when not to play solo, if it's recommended to do that first? I wouldn't really recommend solo at any point in time except for your first 2 runs on the game, because it would help you learn how slow you can actually be when you start the game, and it could also help you learn your beginner enemies such as Bell, ICBM, Springer, and Mart. But it could also help you teach your class, which when you first start out the game, it is Diver. When you first play Diver, you can press your ability button, which is E on your keyboard. If you haven't changed your keybinds, it will lunge you forward and you can jump out of the dive to land properly. If not, you'll just slide on the ground. It is a really good beginner class, and I really recommend using it during your first 2 runs so you can actually learn how it feels to have an ability that gives you momentum when you're really slow. There's other things I could recommend, such as looking at the other classes, reading their descriptions, and stuff like that. When you're done playing solo in there, which should be on your 3rd run, do a 8 or less party run, because then those people in there could sometimes help you. If you don't feel like you can trust yourself in an 8-player lobby, do a 20, because those people in there will definitely help you out. And when you die, you can spectate them to see how they play with their different classes. Classes should be like the first thing you look into. It should not be animation, trails, auras, etc. Because when I was playing this game, I waited until rank 25 until I got my first class, which was Spirit. It was a really bad idea because I could not learn other like classes before I was even comfortable with my gameplay. I just wanted the cosmetics to look pretty and stand out in a group of players so people can point me out easier. That is not what you should be doing. You should find your base game like class first before doing much else so you can live longer and be more comfortable with your gameplay. I started with Spirit because I saw people playing as Spirit and it looks like a really fun class, flinging yourself around and being able to tank 1 damage without a shield. It was a really fun class when I played it, and I have about like 16 hours on it. I definitely love Spirit. It was my main comfortable gameplay. Then I moved to Glider, which can help you get around the map without even using the ground. Then I am currently now on Grappler, which is also really fun because you can also fling yourself around like Spirit. It is also just my preferred gameplay, as you can see in the background, from when I'm doing stuff like Celestial and other things when it comes to badges and other, like a whole lot of other stuff. I need to stop saying other stuff. But besides that, it really should be your first priority, because if you're looking into cosmetics first, how are you ever going to find your comfortable gameplay and earn more money and XP when you're doing those types of things? You're never going to really get through it. So I would really highly recommend looking into the descriptions of classes and what they can do and their abilities before cosmetics and other things. If you want to host your own run or be there for your friends' moral support in a run that they are hosting themselves, I really don't recommend it, especially if you're below 20. I heavily discourage the act of hosting runs when you're very new to the game because you do not understand the enemies or the choices you're making, especially with curses. I would only recommend doing these when you're like above 20 or even 25. And when you are that rank, there's tons of guides to hosting, such as this YouTuber who does a lot of nullscape tips and recordings of his own runs. I will have him linked in the description. There's also a website for shop calculations, which helps a lot because it'll tell you the money that you have at a certain level and what you can get, and you can also calculate how much something will cost, and when you process that cost, it'll tell you how much you have left over. It is wonderful. I've used it a couple of times in my own runs. I've only hosted 4, and it has worked amazingly for me. I'll also have that linked in the description under the YouTuber's video link that I'm going to put in there. But when it comes to joining your friends' runs and helping them with it, I would highly recommend communicating to them first about level requirements, because sometimes you can be locked out of your own friends' runs because of a level requirement. I've accidentally locked out a few of my friends because they have a level of 13 while the requirement was 15. Another tip with helping with runs is only butting in for shop calculations if they can't do it, if they're on mobile or on a console, or curse choices if you've watched videos in the past and have slight experiences with said curses. Now, as obvious as this may seem, shops do change prices depending on the player amount. On a 20-player lobby, they have higher prices than a lobby of maybe 6 people by a huge amount. The greeting is important in some lobbies, especially if you want to last long in runs while helping beginners / yourself. That's why, as I stated before, the nullscape calculator exists. It helps calculate what prices you'll have and what is available in the shop on your level, so you can manage saving and prioritizing important shop items to maximize survival. That's why you'll see people pop things called an altar of purgatory or an altar of passage, which is exactly my next tip, and a little bit of explanation of the game mechanics on altars. If you see people voting for altars, it is best to follow that bandwagon, and here's why. When people, or specifically high rank players, vote on an altar, it means they can trust themselves and other people on their team to be able to survive depending on what altar it is. Chances and purgatories tend to be popped early game at any opportunity that they can get for every bit of buff to help with shops and saving. Chance has a percentage to give a golden gift buffs of 0.5 and 0.75 gift yield, along with some negatives depending on the current enemy selection because it can just not affect anything at all. To boost the outcome you can get, chances are really good for that. Altars are also very selective when it comes to usage. People will usually do chance between its first appearance to 10, when people will sometimes use Purg until 15. It is very selective on the host if it's host altars or if the team believes that they can actually handle it during that time. Because if the run is already seeming to fail, like you're under half players and it just keeps dropping, then it is very recommended to not use it. Altars aren't always goody two-shoes anyways. Altar of Purgatory adds a 2x gift yield, but at the cost of extra temporary enemies that can range from whatever is in your current enemy pool to things you already have selected, which can be brutal with whatever you have selected already. Some altars are good. Altar of Protection gives a temporary shield for that level in specific at the cost of 1k golden gifts when you first get it, and it gets more pricey as it goes on. And then there's an Altar of Purification. It's an altar that can purify the highest valued curse, but at a cost of a lot of your golden gifts, and sometimes can even put you in debt if you don't have enough. But it also adds a permanent enemy into your current selection for the entire run, not even just for the level. That's not even just it. There's quite a few altars in the game with its own quirks, even though I'll just read off some of the information on the wiki, as it's the most useful thing that there is for altars or general information. It's just I can't remember most of them off the top of my head because I don't even use half of them. The Altar of Chance randomly picks a positive or negative effect to apply to the current level you're on. These are the list of the positive effects and what they do. No trip mines. Remove all trip mines from the current level that you're on. Plus 0.5/0.75 times golden gift yield increase. Increases golden gift yield by either 0.05 or 0.75 for that level. This effect does not multiply gifts on top of other multipliers, it only adds this effect onto your current multiplier. Revive player. Revives one random player. What do you expect this to even do? It's literally the name. Flesh be gone. Cleanses all current flesh tiles and kills one flesh for that level. Does not prevent flesh enemies from infecting new tiles. Extra shield for one player. Gives one random player a shield. This stacks on top of the player's current shields as well. Altar of Purgatory. When activated, adds temporary enemies to the level from the current enemy pool. Changes in form depending on how many gifts have been collected. 0 to 50% is greed, 50 to 90% is revive. and this altar is disabled beyond 90% gifts collected. Altar of Passage summons randomly generated shaded pink tiles that can emerge from roots in various areas of the level and enrages any guardians present, including Voidbound Guardian. These tiles may contain golden gifts, and after a short delay, they gradually collapse over time. The generation of the Altar of Passage is also influenced by tile-based curses. Echoing will only give golden gifts, but you can also not activate this during collapse. It will not work. Then there's the Altar of Chaos. It'll give you a random curse that is from the Chaos Curse pool. I'm pretty sure you can get some of these curses normally as well, but the problem with these curses is sometimes they can be the worst curse known to mankind, like Beacon Mirage. It can place beacons around the map, and if you go into the fake one, it'll become monochromed, and you'll just have a hard time finding the beacon itself because it will not be in the middle like you expect it to be. It can be put anywhere around the map. Extra altar information is critical for you to listen to. Altars, especially as a new player, need to be handled cautiously due to the skills needed if you get a bad combo for purging, chance, or purification. The altars without a risk is basically passage and protection. Echo is dependent on the previous altar, which I didn't really get to talk about Echo because it's literally the name. You echoed the altar that it gave you beforehand. Echoing Purgatory will always do greed, not revive. Echoing Passage will only give gifts and not the platforms. Echoing Chaos, yeah, I don't know what that does. I haven't seen it before. Echoing Protection will give the person who initiated the echo the protection. It will not give it to anyone else. Echoing an echo will not do anything. It will not even echo the thing that it literally echoed. And the last thing that I have to talk about is badges. Badges should not be your top priority at all. It should be literally the last thing that you have to worry about. You will end up getting half of them by accident or fail thousands of times trying to get them. Example, Voidbound Scarf, Subspace Scarf, and Voidbound Fox badges. This game will literally drain you of all of your energy because it is that time consuming. It is so hard going for some of these badges. Trust me, I would know. It took me 5 months just to get Voidbound Scarf alone. It just shouldn't be worth your time trying to go for half of these badges at all until you know all of the mechanics, or even if you're rank 100, because Celestial is probably the hardest badge on most of the modes, except for Extreme. The hardest for Extreme is Party plus level 50, I'm pretty sure. So please don't even try going for badges. Just try getting them by accident, and once you get all the accident badges then go for the badges that you really want, because that means you've experienced most of the game. I'm sorry if I didn't cover most things that other people would talk about, because I wanted to cover the very basics and things that you would see the most. I didn't really go that deep into all of the altars because you won't really see them. You're not going to really make it far until you learn the game properly. And I didn't really go into enemy mechanics or enemy names or anything like that, because the game itself literally tells you what they do with an animation. So I didn't really think it was that useful to talk about enemies when a lot of other people already talked about it and literally give a tier list with a slight explanation to what most of the enemies do, like Fox's Rock. So I just really went through what I wish I knew and what I think other people would want to know. So I'm really sorry if the things I said did not really explain most of the things. This is just general basic explanation that I would have wanted when I first started out. But if you enjoyed the video, then I'm really happy that you did, and I hope you have a great day or night. And if you want to see me potentially upload more nullscape content, please like and subscribe. I'll probably be doing this almost weekly, hopefully, maybe. We'll see. But thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. Love y'all.